Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and I'm gonna show you how to test the stator on your Harley Davidson. Specifically, we're using a Milwaukee 8 Softail for this, but for most late model Harley Davidsons, this procedure is going to be very, very similar. Now, why would you want to test your stator? This isn't something that you necessarily want to do as part of your general maintenance routine. Only if you're having a problem keeping a hot battery in your motorcycle, your battery won't stay charged, your stator could be the culprit. Now, before you get to this, I recommend you actually test your battery to make sure you have a good battery. We have a video for that, and I'll throw a link in here for you guys to show you how to test your battery. Once you've figured out your battery is in good shape, we're gonna have to move on to the stator. Now, what does the stator actually do? Well, it hides under your primary here, and that's what generates the AC power for your motorcycle. Now later on, that's converted to DC power, but that is another story for the voltage regulator. Right now, we want to know that our stator in here is actually generating good power for our motorcycle. Now you are going to use one tool. You're going to need a multimeter. You can pick these up at automotive stores or hardware stores, just about anywhere you can get a multimeter. We're going to need one for this particular job. We're gonna head down to the front bottom part of the motorcycle where our voltage regulator is, because that is where the plug-in is for the stator. On some of the older models of bikes, your plug is actually gonna be up here. You'll unplug it going right into the case. For ours, we unplug it down here at the voltage regulator. And if you have a Sportster, it's actually gonna be ran back here. But like I said before, the procedure is basically the same. The first thing we have to do on this bike is get this voltage regulator off and get to our plug. So this is the wire here that we need coming out of the primary side of the bike. We're gonna unplug that out of the voltage regulator. You may have a 2-hole plug instead of a 3-hole. We have 3 holes here. That means we have a 3-phase system. If you have a different bike, you may end up having 2, but like I said before, the procedure is basically the same. Now, we're gonna run a couple of tests. We're gonna do a continuity test and an ohms test. Basically, since we can't physically be in there and see what's going on, we'll run these tests to see if there's something broken in the stator. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is a continuity test. We're going to switch this to our little diode setting down here. Some meters have a little alarm on them that will beep if there's continuity. Some, like this, are just gonna show a 1. We're going to test each wire or each phase, and we don't want that to change, or we don't want to hear the alarm. So we're gonna take our meter, put one side of it, make sure you're down in there where the metal prongs are, and then we're gonna get a good bolt here on the engine, nothing. We'll go from each wire, test each one. So make sure you get down in there and get good contact with the metal and not just the rubber part of the plug. That one's good, and our last one, that's good. So there's probably nothing broken in there. Now, if my meter would have changed, or if we had a meter with an alarm on it would have beeped, that would have signaled we probably had something broken in the stator. So that's step 1. If you have a continuity issue, you have a bad stator. Now, step 2 is we're going to do an ohms test to all 3 of these phases. So we're going to switch to our ohm setting on our meter. Before we actually start testing this, we need to know the resistance of our actual tool here. So mine is showing 0.3. What our ohm test should show us on each one of these, they should read from 0.1 to 0.3 ohms, but we also have to add the resistance of our wires in there. So I could get anywhere up to 0.6 on this. So if my resistance on my wires is 0.3, I could go anywhere up to 0.6 and still be good on our test. And think of these as A, B, and C. So we're gonna go A to B, A to C, and B to C, meaning we're gonna test all these together. Again, make sure you have good contact down there with the metal part. So our first phase here is 0.4. We're gonna go the next one, looking good. And then we'll do the last 2 together. And 0.4. Like I said, we're looking for 0.1 to 0.3, but that's plus the resistance from our wires. So we're all good there, meaning this is probably okay, but there's one last test. We're gonna test the AC voltage. A stator makes AC voltage and the regulator converts it to DC. We're gonna test each of these phases just like we did with the ohm meter. So we're gonna switch from ohms to AC voltage. It's important that you go to AC, which is the V with the wavy line. So we're gonna check for AC voltage while the motorcycle is running. And we're gonna do it similar to how we did the ohm test. So you're gonna go A to B, A to C, and B to C. You should see anywhere from 32 to 56 AC volts out of this motorcycle. This should put out around 16 to 28 AC volts per per 1,000 RPM. We're gonna try to test this around 2,000 RPM. This may be a two-man job. The important part is here, check the specs for your bike. Okay, rev it up a little bit. Go ahead. A little more, right there. I'm gonna check the other one. Good. That's good. So now we know that we have a healthy stator setup in this motorcycle. We can move on down the line, troubleshooting our charging system elsewhere. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment and go work on those motorcycles.